Hello and welcome back to Cocoponics. Today we're going to be talking about the worst part of raising chickens for me. I've had these birds for 2 months. Bought them as chicks, been raising them, feeding them every day, making sure they have fresh water, making sure they have a good place to live, and today we're going to be harvesting them. This is by far the hardest and worst part of raising chickens for me. But we're going to walk through that today, and hopefully I can help anybody that's watching learn a few things about harvesting chickens, the butchering process, and the processing of a carcass. I raise meat chickens because the quality of the meat is so much better. I can make sure that these birds have a better life than what they would be getting if they were from a factory. The big name brand chicken companies. There's a lot of reasons that people raise meat birds, or any animal for that matter, for their food. For me, it's more than just the food. It's about how they're treated, how they're allowed to run around and be chickens, or turkeys or ducks, for that matter. Today we're going to be harvesting 9 of these chickens. I have 2 turkeys that will be harvested in a couple of months. The ducks are just pets. So I'm gonna walk you through that today. We're gonna go through the initial setup of my butchering station and show you step by step. I will not be showing some of the parts of the processing, but I will show the basic steps of butchering a chicken. Alright, let's get started. burner. That's going to be for scalding the chickens after they've been killed to loosen up the feathers to make plucking easier. Next we'll move over to the processing table. The only two tools that I have here are a sharp knife and some shears for removing the head, cutting through the rest of the bone and everything. The sharp knife is really important, especially for when you are making the kill cuts on the jugular of the chicken. If you don't have a sharp knife, it's going to make it more uncomfortable than it needs to be for the chicken before you kill it. Next thing I have is a trash bucket for feathers, intestines, everything that cannot be used, and a bucket of ice cold water for cooling the carcass after the processing has been completed. So the purpose of this is to cut down on potential bacteria growth. Once you kill an animal, the inside of it is still warm, and it can begin growing bacteria, and the less bacteria the better, obviously. So putting it in a cool water will stop growth of bacteria until you can properly package and get your birds refrigerated and or frozen. So this is the basic setup. I laid a tarp down here because there's going to be feathers everywhere, and I want to make cleanup a little bit easier. So make sure that if you're going to do this, write down a list of everything you need ahead of time, and think about the whole process start to end, and kind of make a mental list and make sure you write it down, because you will forget things. I will be killing the chickens over here. I will be showing where to cut on the chicken's neck to begin bleeding the chicken. I won't actually be showing the process of killing the chickens. But once they're dead, I will show the whole process, start to finish, of scalding, defeathering, removing the internals, and then putting them in the cold bath. When you make your cut to the chicken's neck, it's going to be right here, underneath it, where its jawline comes into its neck. And you're going to stay off to the side so you don't cut the esophagus and the throat, because you don't want the whatever food that may be in their gizzard to come back out. So you're just going for a jugular cut right here along the neck to cause it to bleed out. It'll then go unconscious and then die. So that's basically it. Alright, now that that's done, we've got our scalding pot. Water temperature right now is about 160. Optimal range is about 145. If you get too hot, you'll start getting to the point of cooking the skin or causing tearing of the skin because you're heating it too much. 145 is good. You want to dunk your bird in there just long enough to where the wing feathers start to loosen. So right there, the large feathers on the wings are now coming right out. Very little effort. So we move over to the table. You start pulling the feathers back. They will come off super easy. Okay, now the feathers have been removed from the bird. You can start at either end. You can start at the front or the back. I like to start at the front. And you're gonna feel where the breasts come together, and there's this V right here at the bottom of the neck. This is the belly of the bird, back of the bird. So it's going to be laying on its back. You're going to find this V right here. You're going to pinch the skin, cut the skin. Let me get you a little bit closer. Okay, you're going to follow the skin down, and right here you'll see a color change where the breast meat is on this side and then the rest of the flesh is this side. You're going to lightly score your knife across it and it will separate. You don't want to cut into the meat or the other parts. You want to kind of get right in between so it separates. And grab here where it's connected, make a cut, and slowly work your way down on both sides. There's a lot of connecting tissue in here. One thing you don't want to do is come in with the point of your knife. You want to kind of use the whole length of the blade in sweeping motions. If you go with a point, you can puncture something that you don't want to cut into. I need that bag. Go ahead and tie it off and throw it in the chest freezer in the barn.
Chest freezer, okay. Like the one with all the meat?
Yeah, that's all chicken.
Okay.
Actually, let me throw this last one in right there. Okay, so you're going to follow this cut up to the neck, right up to the spine. There we we go, and then you can cut across the back of the neck on the skin. Okay. Now what you're going to look for is the esophagus, and the throat is kind of more the crop. You're going to sweep your finger tight against the neck. It's going to come out the other side, and you now have the throat and the esophagus hooked. So the esophagus is here. It's kind of got some ridges on it. And the throat is here. That's where this large sac is the crop. Now that it's hooked, pulled down to the end, so you're basically taking all this meat up off the neck. You're going to leave that there for now. Now you're going to come back to the back of the bird. This is the edge of the breastbone, and then the rest of this is its guts down to its vent. What I like to do is take this skin and pull it forward towards the front of the bird, so this is nice and tight. You're going to find where the tip of the breastbone is. You're going to make a slice here, not too deep, just enough to break that skin. You're going to follow the breastbone in enough to where it separates and makes that cavity. Now you got this thin membrane here. I don't know if you can see that. That attaches, and one on this side. You're going to follow that down. You're basically just eviscerating the skin level here and opening up the cavity. Now you have a small hip bone here and here. You're going to go just on the inside of the hip bone. Now we're going to reach in. Going to get all the way in there. You're trying to grab everything all at one time. So you're going to get your hand all the way in up to where you had the throat. And you're going to try and hook that. If you can hook that, then you can get the esophagus and everything to pull. Right through. So, if you fed your bird the day of slaughter, that crop is going to be full of food. This is my 8th bird today, and first one that doesn't have a crop full of food. But if it's full of food, you're gonna actually have to cut that on this side of the neck, pull the large sac off of the body, and then pull the rest through from there. Okay, now we got all of the insides on the outsides. We're going to pull it out downward, and we're just going to follow the edge of the internals. We don't want to cut into any of them. End up spilling fecal matter into your carcass, so we're just going to follow this around. All the way down to the tail. See if I can get you a better angle. And so here's the vent here. So we're going to cut to the side. Follow all the internals down below the vent, and then we'll start making our cut across. Making sure not to puncture anything. And there we go. Cut those last connecting tissues. Now you have all the intestines and heart and everything. If you use any of it, like here's the heart, you can cook that up, or kidneys, liver. The intestines I actually don't use any of the internals. I actually happened to get the lungs out on this shot. I'll show you where those normally sit. They're actually kind of a pain to get. So they actually sit all the way up in here against the rib cage. You actually have to scrape in between the ribs with your fingers to get the lungs out on this side of the spine and the other side of the spine, and pull them out separately. A lot of people will miss those. Just go ahead and finish scraping any extra internals out of here. The biggest thing is getting the intestines out intact. I mean, if you happen to puncture them, not a big deal. You're going to want to make sure you clean your bird out ASAP. I do like to get in here, rinse them out every once in a while. I have a can underneath here catching all this extra stuff. All the feathers, the legs, the head, all the intestines. Okay, now we're going to go and take the feet off. So right here is where the leg bends. So you're going to bend it backward. You're going to put a little bit of pressure on it, and you'll find right where this knuckle and this knuckle meet, and run your blade gently. You'll feel the tendons cutting. See that separation? Right, so tendon, there's a tendon here. Make sure those are all cut. Go back to the other leg, same thing. Gently work down. You shouldn't have to put much pressure with your blade. You push too much, you're going to end up cutting through bone and leave something like that. You're going to flip the bird over. Same thing on the back side. You're going to give it a little bend. Gently. You'll feel those tendons popping. You can twist. There's a couple more tendons that I missed. I'm going to cut those. There's one foot off. feet off. On the back side of the tail right here, this is a oil gland that the chickens use to clean themselves. I like to cut that off, so I'm going to take right at the edge, so this bump here and this bulge comes down to like a valley right here. I'm going to slice downward until it hits bone, and then kind of gently work the blade back toward the back, and you're going to see a darker yellow type of flesh. That's what you're trying to remove, is the yellow stuff. Basically just shaving that top layer off. There we go. Let's see if you see that. It's a little darker yellow here and here. That's pretty much it. If you want to take the neck off, come down this way. Come in from the side. Come in from the side. Get the underside. There's a few tendons in the neck too that you gotta cut through. And it comes right off. I don't use the neck either. I'm just here for the meat. So that's it. Cleaned out bird. Ready to throw in the refrigerator or freeze, or you could cook it up.